All right, Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone. This lesson is going to be entitled Blizzard Death Toll or Blizzard Death Toll Update with more on the way. All right, and this video I did a little different now. I'm sure by now you heard about the young woman that froze to death up there in Buffalo and that storm and whatnot. But there was not only just that woman, there was more people that died. There was over 60. Over 60 people died in that snowstorm. And a great number of them up in Buffalo. And you can see her on the screen right now. Now I'm going to include the news reports after we bring this lesson, after I read these few scriptures here. Okay? Because what happened was I did a video, as we do. I did a video about 10 days ago. All right, let's see if we can go back and find it. Over here on the left, the Lord is sending an Arctic blast. That was the video that was done. Let me see if I can, excuse me. And it was serving as a warning message. The Lord is sending an Arctic blast. That was 10 days ago. And then what wound up happening? The Lord sent the Arctic blast and a lot of people died. This young lady being one of them, 22 years old from Charlotte, had moved up to Buffalo and got stuck in the storm. Now, from what it seems, I guess the smoke, the fumes from the car is probably what killed her, more than likely. And then, after that, she probably froze. But in any event, you gotta heed the warnings when you hear them coming forth from the Lord. And they're also talking about another storm is on the way. Two storms. I think one came through already over in Colorado. But they're predicting another storm right ahead of so-called New Year. And I'll leave that image up for a minute because a lot of you people are hard-headed, particularly you damn women. You love to run your mouth on the comment board, but see, the Lord brings judgment in different ways, and this girl was just 22 years old. See, the Lord brings judgment in many ways, so you got to be careful what you're saying and what you're doing out there when it comes to this word, because you might open your mouth and the Lord will get pissed off and it may be already in your fate anyway to die that way. But now you hear all these different stories, and you'll hear them. There's probably about 4 different news reports. You can just try to sit through them and get the information, about things that happen and things that are on the way. You can see here I got like 4 different ones. And this time I chose not to put them in the beginning. I'm going to put these in the end. So stay tuned and watch these because it's got a lot of information and also information about the storms that's on the way. As you see here, cross-country storm brings snow and rain. And it's ahead of this New Year's, so-called New Year's and New Year's Eve and all of that. All right, but first, let's read one scripture. And it's going to be Ezekiel 33 and 30. And then we're going to read the Good News translation. Now it says, "Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and at the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord." See, many people they flock to hear what the Hebrew Israelites are saying, but you don't want to do what the Lord commands, as it's going to go on to say. "And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them." You hear what we saying out of the Bible, right? We telling you the truth. It's the voice of the Most High speaking to you when you cross and you see the brothers teaching, but you don't want to do what the Lord says. You think it's for a show, right? It says, "And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness." And that's really what people are more concerned about. And just so happens that when the Lord brought these storms, it was during the most covetous time of the year. Was it not? The Lord brought a storm during that so-called Christmas. And you had the white Christmas that you had been lusting after, that people lust after. And during the most covetous time of the year, you was trying to dig out of that damn snow. You was trying to survive. Verse 32 says, "And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. So you're going to find out that what we're telling you is the truth. Now, also to be noted, I put up 2 other videos late last night. The one on the right-hand side, you need the whole armor, not body armor, right? And on that video, there was a comment made, and I responded to it and made another video, message to the tough-talking carnalites. So if you haven't checked those 2 out, check those out as well. Now, we read that scripture from the Holy Bible. Now we'll cross-reference it with the Good News Translation. Same verse, Ezekiel 33:30. It says, and at the top it says, the results of the prophet's message. The Lord said, mortal man, your people are talking about you when they meet you by the city walls or in the doorways of their houses. They say to one another, let us go and hear what the word has come from the Lord. Let's go and hear what word has come from the Lord now. So my people crowd in to hear what you have to say, but they don't do what you tell them to do. Loving words are on their lips, but they continue their greedy ways. To them, you are nothing more than an entertainer singing love songs or playing a harp. They listen to all your words and don't obey a single one of them. But when all your words come true, and they will come true, then they will know that a prophet has been among them. So you heard it right there, very plainly written. So he, the one, is coming forth from the brothers, from the prophets, because we can't tell you when, you're going to be taken by calamity. I'm sure this young woman had no idea when she was at work that day or the week before that or whenever that she was going to get caught up in that storm and die. And there was many stories like that. They're still uncovering that, digging out of that snow and uncovering dead bodies of people that died. People died in the streets. You see, they're going to find more. The death toll is going to continue to rise. And then these other storms are on the way. Heed the warnings. If you're in the area where they're saying the blizzard coming, snow is coming, you see, and they're showing you right there. 2 storms on the way. One already is on the west coast, and the other one down there look like Louisiana. But they're supposed to sweep across the whole United States, so be wise. Heed the warnings coming forth from the Lord. Don't be proud. Don't think you got this, because you don't got it. So stay tuned for the news reports and get the information. All praise Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.
And the death toll is rising from that brutal holiday storm. Now over 50 people are reported dead. Nearly 30 of those deaths happened in New York State alone. The governor is calling the storm the blizzard of the century, as the Buffalo area remains paralyzed from nearly 4 feet of snow. Mona Kozar-Abdi is there.
The death toll in western New York rising after what officials are calling the blizzard of the century. A winter nightmare unfolding, at least 51 dead nationwide, 29 in New York State alone. Roads still impassable, forklifts used to clear vehicles.
This blizzard is the one for the ages.
Wanda Brown Steele's daughter, among one of the victims, found dead in her car after the snow rapidly piled up.
It's so easy to ask yourself, why, God? Why?
Emergency responders in Buffalo fighting multiple house fires, leaving crews in a dangerous battle with both fire and ice. More than 50 inches of snow have fallen in Buffalo over the past 3 days. In many neighborhoods, residents now turning to one another for life-saving help.
I'm coming.
Buffalo resident Shakira Autry took to social media after she heard 64-year-old Joseph White in distress outside her home and brought him inside on Sunday.
I found him screaming for help. When I looked out the window, he was getting blowed up and down the street. It was out of control.
Autry updating social media in a second video.
All right, what vehicle am I getting? I'm going to go.
Taking White to the emergency room of Erie County Medical Center on Sunday with the help of strangers. And one mother with no electricity, desperate to keep her baby alive when his ventilator suddenly stopped. Speaking to our ABC station, WKBW.
I was sitting there literally crying, wishing someone would just knock on my door, literally. And if they said they knocked and no one was there, if they knew a mother and father and child were in there, they should have broke the door down. We were in there. We needed help.
Shahida Muhammad and her husband manually administered breaths to their infant for 2 days until Good Samaritans came to their aid. And elsewhere in the city, Longtime residents opening up their homes to these visitors from half a world away after a knock on their door.
They said, we're part of a tour group from South Korea, and we have 10 people in our vehicle. And I said, get all of them inside our house right now.
Wow, Mona, these stories, unbelievable. And Mona joins us live now from Buffalo. And Mona, how are they handling search and rescue efforts right now with more snow on the way?
Well, Diane, right now, search and rescue teams are in a better position than they were just days ago. Yesterday, we saw state troopers in the area on snowmobiles doing welfare checks. We heard officials ask people to check on their neighbors. Now, unfortunately, this is why we're seeing the death toll climbing, because they're able to maneuver and navigate the streets a lot more. We're hearing that victims have been found in their cars. Victims have been found in snowbanks. Right now, there's teams coming in from Rochester to assist with the search and rescue. At one point, though, there were no emergency crews. And for the first time in Buffalo's history, we saw all of their fire trucks stuck in the snow, and there were even the rescuers needing rescue. But even then, they were still able to do over 500 rescues. So the search and rescue effort is still ongoing right now, but they are definitely in a better position, Diane.
Now, Mona, Buffalo is used to major snowstorms. This is an area very used to snow, and they know how to handle it. So what made this storm so deadly?
That is a good question. There's the weather aspect of it, where it was just a combination of the low temperatures with the frozen precipitation, the lake effect snow, so all that together. But as you mentioned, Western New York is used to heavy snowfall, so a lot of people overestimated their ability to drive in this snow. I spoke with one woman who says in hindsight, she's a manager at Walmart, and says in hindsight, their job should have let them off a lot earlier, because by the time she was hitting the road Friday afternoon, she could barely see within feet in front of her. And she actually, not too far from here, just had to abandon her car and had a friend pick her up. And so that is part of the reason this was so difficult for people, is because they thought it was just another snowstorm, and once they got in it, they realized it was a lot more difficult.
Yeah, thank God she made it home okay. So how are people there reacting to this, Mona, and how are they coping now?
That's a good question. So people here, I mean, you heard some of the stories where neighbors are literally opening their doors to strangers and helping each other out. Officials were asking people to just check on your neighbors, and that is what they were doing, because some search and rescue efforts weren't able to get to people on time. We heard people post Facebook messages when they needed life-saving emergency help, and people were just responding. The woman that I was telling you about that got stuck here, she came to get her car back yesterday, and it was just her and her friend with a shovel. They were at it for about a few minutes, and then these guys just driving around asking people if they needed help came by, and they were able to get her car out of the snow, and then they went to go get her friend's car out of the snow. So I can't understate how incredible it is to see the community of this greater Buffalo area come together and help out complete strangers, because again, at one point that help wasn't coming from officials.
Yeah, the one bright spot in tragedies like this is that seeing neighbors helping neighbors in ways you sometimes can't even imagine. Mona Kozar Abdi, we appreciate it, friends. Stay safe.
And speaking of the weather impacts, check this out. Buffalo, New York, one of the hardest hit places in the country. The storm dumping more than 4 feet of snow there on that Buffalo area. 28 people dying over the weekend during this blizzard in Western New York alone. That includes a young woman who grew up in Charlotte. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre talking with the family of 22-year-old Andell Taylor. As you can imagine, they are devastated.
Andell was getting off work Friday when she got stuck in the snow. Her family say she made several calls for help, but nothing. The next day, she was found, but it was too late.
It's like I want to wake up from this dream, you know? She was just so sweet.
A Charlotte family mourning the loss of Andell Taylor, a nursing assistant who was trapped in the winter storm after work Friday afternoon in Buffalo, New York.
And then around 12, she texted us the last video saying that the snow was basically by her stomach.
That was the last time Thomasha Brown says she heard from her sister.
She was in a position where she was comfortable inside the car when they saw her body. She had on scrubs and Crocs. She didn't have a coat on, so she didn't freeze.
Loved ones described Andell as a protector and a caregiver who moved to New York to go to school and help her dad.
She went all the way to Buffalo to take care of her father. And no one was there as far as the rescue people to help her.
Her family in New York say they did all they could to get to Endel, but couldn't make it through all of the snow. Her body was found by a stranger Saturday night.
She was brave. She was loyal. She was always there. Anything we needed, if sister had it, we could always depend on her.
So it's really hard for us, like really hard. She was the youngest one, but she had the oldest soul.
Endel's family say the same stranger who found her had a truck, drove them to her so that they could bring Endel to the hospital. Endel would have been 23 next month. In Southwest Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Amid frantic rescues and mounting loss, this morning Buffalo still not out of the woods. Western New York could see even more snow by tonight after more than 4 feet brought Buffalo to a frigid halt.
Nothing can compare to this storm.
The Tisdale family says they almost didn't survive after their car got stuck in the whiteout. Thankfully, firefighters came to the rescue.
They saved our lives. So many people didn't make it out of their cars. So many people didn't make it out of their homes.
The severe winter weather blamed for nearly 60 deaths nationwide. One of the states hardest hit, New York. President Biden declaring a state of emergency after officials reported more than 24 weather-related deaths.
It is painful to find members of your community that are deceased, who were trying to walk out during storm conditions, got disoriented, and passed away out in the street.
Navigating streets turned to parking lots, authorities also facing reported looting.
I don't know how these people can even live with themselves, how they can look at themselves in the mirror. They are the lowest of the low.
This as first responders continue to help Buffalo residents, with New York State police troopers assisting road clearing crews, checking for stranded motorists, and assisting in search and rescue efforts.
It's up in flames now.
While firefighters struggled to control a multiple home fire in the deep snow yesterday. And the Buffalo airport will remain closed until Wednesday morning as the area braces for a touch of more snow today. That viral Christmas party with stranded South Korean tourists giving Yosep Choi and his wife a honeymoon he'll never forget.
I got a new family member in Buffalo too, so I can describe in words. It's like I met angels.
Such an incredible, inspiring story, a sign of hope in what has been a very tough time here in Buffalo. We do have some cars out on the roadways right now, guys, but for the city of Buffalo, there is still a travel ban in place this morning. We are looking at some warmer temperatures, even if just slightly, in the days ahead, so hopefully that will bring some relief as well. Peter?
Those piles of snow next to you, hard to imagine. All that came over the course of the last week. Jesse Kirsch, thank you so much.
Major storms hitting coast to coast just before the new year. So let's go to Mola Langi in Denver, which also was hit hard by that storm. Good morning to you, Mola.
Oh, good morning, Janae. Yeah, Denver sitting between those two major storm systems crossing the nation. That first one that dumped snow on us earlier this week, now moving east, affecting millions and millions of people. The plains and parts of the Midwest in the crosshairs overnight. Heavy, wet, treacherous snow creating some pretty dangerous driving condition in Nebraska. Back here in Colorado, check out what happened on Interstate 70 in Weld County just outside Denver. A big pileup on the interstate involving around 24 vehicles Thursday. While authorities have not said weather was a contributing factor, roads were icy, there was freshly fallen snow on the ground, just some tough driving conditions. Fortunately, injuries were only minor, but now we are bracing for that second storm system here. It is currently hitting the west coast. It is moving east, expected to be here by Sunday, potentially making for a very messy start to the new year, Gio.
Yeah, a dangerous mess. All right, Mola, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and bring in Danielle Breezy from our Nashville station WKRN in for Ginger here with the forecast. This can get really, really dangerous.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks that way. We have two systems that we're watching. The first one I want to get to here is the one that's pushing east. It is going to bring some heavy rain as we head into New Year's Eve. They've got flood watches up for Buffalo. They had all that snow. It's expected to melt and lead to ice jams and flooding. Also, New York City going to be mild for New Year's Eve, but also very wet. Boston, the same thing. Then we're watching this atmospheric river over to the west. We've got 11 states now under some sort of alert. And here's that timing on that system. We're going to see the waves of rain impacting the Bay Area as we head into Friday night and Saturday morning. Also heavy mountain snow. That same system going to shift south. So as we head into New Year's Eve night, unfortunately, it looks like LA, you're going to be wet. So a lot of folks going to be wet as we head into New Year's Eve. Gio.